In a small, bustling HVAC company, the dispatch system was a nightmare, but not for the reasons you'd expect. It wasn't the calls, the technicians, or even the customers that made it so terrifying. It was the system itself. A chaotic, mismatched monster of 10-plus applications haphazardly pieced together over the years. Like a modern-day doctor, Frankenstein, the office manager, had stitched together these programs, hoping to create something that could breathe life into their operations. But just like in the infamous tale, what was born from this patchwork wasn't a well-oiled machine, but a terrifying, uncontrollable beast. It all started with good intentions. The company had grown fast, too fast for their old software to keep up. At first they added a new scheduling app, then a better invoicing tool. When that didn't quite do the job, they introduced a system to track inventory. Soon, they had another tool for customer data, a third-party app for GPS tracking, and yet another for technician time logs. On and on it went, each new piece added to solve one problem, but introducing several others. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. They were stuck with this grotesque assembly of programs that didn't speak to each other, forcing the dispatch team into a daily grind of cutting and pasting data between applications just to keep the company running. Every technician's schedule, every customer request, every invoice required multiple steps across multiple platforms. It was slow, it was error-prone, it was maddening. The company had unknowingly created its own monster. Dispatchers spent hours copying customer details from one app to another, their screens flashing with error messages when information was lost in translation. Technicians would arrive at jobs only to realize that crucial data, addresses, parts lists, special instructions, had been misplaced, requiring frantic phone calls back to the office. Jobs were delayed, and customer complaints were piling up. Each day, the team wrestled with the system, trying to bend it to their will, hoping that this time it would behave. But like Frankenstein's monster, it had a mind of its own. One day it would lose half the day's jobs in the labyrinth of applications. Another, it would lock the team out of key systems right when they needed them most. Dispatchers felt like they were constantly chasing the creature, hoping to fix one part before another malfunctioned. Dr. Stevens, the office manager, was the mastermind behind this creation. He had spent late nights cobbling together the different pieces, convinced he could make it work. Every time a dispatcher cried out in frustration or a technician called in to report missing job details, Stevens reassured them. "We'll fix it," he would say, "we'll make it work." But the truth gnawed at him. This system, this thing he had built, was beyond fixing. The more parts he added, the more unpredictable the system became. There were moments when it seemed to function, albeit clumsily, but the peace never lasted. A new app integration would break the fragile harmony and chaos would resume. The entire operation was now held together by duct tape and desperation. One evening, long after the staff had gone home, Stevens sat at his desk, staring at the array of monitors in front of him. Each screen displayed a different part of the dispatch system, the various applications humming away in an uneasy truce. He had tried everything: patches, workarounds, custom scripts, anything to make the monster behave. But deep down, he knew this creation, this Frankenstein's monster of dispatch, was flawed at its core. Stevens slumped back in his chair, exhausted. He had loved this system once, convinced that he could make it work. But now he could see it for what it truly was, a creature beyond his control. The problem wasn't just the individual applications, it was the way they had been stitched together, each with its own logic, its own language, incompatible with the others. As he shut down his computer for the night, a chilling realization washed over him. The monster wasn't going to get better. In fact, it was growing more dangerous with each passing day. One wrong move, one critical mistake, and it wouldn't just slow down operations, it could bring the entire company to its knees. The financial data, the customer information, the job logs, all of it was at the mercy of this cobbled-together creation. And one day, it might fail completely. Just as Dr. Frankenstein had come to dread his own creation, Stevens realized that his monster was no different. He had once loved it, believed in it, but now it had turned into something he couldn't control. It wasn't the tool to save the company, it was the thing that might destroy it. The next morning, Stevens made the hardest decision of his career. It was time to retire the monster. The company would have to invest in something new, something built to work as a cohesive whole, rather than a chaotic assembly of mismatched parts. The days of cut-and-paste solutions were over. Stevens glanced out the window as the first rays of sunlight broke through. The nightmare wasn't over yet, but it would be soon. And this time, he'd make sure they built something that could live without turning into a monster. Tame the monster and book a demo of your radar at yourradar.net.